Hey, beauties! Welcome to a Sacred Space podcast. I'm Katie, your host, and I am so excited to share with you how to create sacred space in order to heal and empower yourself. I want you to know that it is possible to live your dream life, to create amazing relationships, to experience joy daily, to be fully connected to yourself and passionate about life. No matter where you're at right now, it is possible to heal your trauma, your anxiety, and live a life beyond your wildest dreams. In this podcast, I will share with you the tools and resources I've used in order to create my dream life. And if it's possible for me, I know it is for you too. So let's get started. Okay, everybody, today I am here with Cathy McKinnon. She is the founder of Wellness Warrior Coaching, and we are going to talk all about boundaries, self-care, and investing in yourself. So I'm very excited. I'm going to have Cathy go ahead and just introduce herself and tell us a little bit about her and her business, and then we'll dive into the topic.
Sure. So first of all, Katie, thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here and share my story. So thank you for allowing me the space. So a little bit about my story and how I came to my business. So my personal transformation is what led me to my business and sharing my story with others. And this was really a culmination of events in my life. I was struggling with fertility problems. I came across a cancer diagnosis in that struggle for fertility problems. And then I went through a very ugly separation and became a single mom. So a lot of major life events in a very condensed time period, and learning how to cope with them, how to focus on what was really important, and how to really set those boundaries so that I was set up for success on my vision for my life, as well as the life that I wanted to demonstrate for my son now that I have this blessed baby boy in my life. What did I want him to see? How did I want him to see his mom? Mm-hmm. You know, I don't want him to see his mom as the frazzled, stressed out woman who has no time to play with him. Mm-hmm. So really, really reestablishing our world and what that would be. And, you know, saying no to the things that did not suit us, which is, as women, I think is very, very hard to say no to invitations, the group events, whatever it might be. But building those in so that we have the time that we need, not just for the things that fit our vision or our goal, but just to be us, just to have that one-on-one time, even if it's just doing nothing else but having movie night.
Yes. Yes, that's awesome. That's beautiful. I have a daughter too, and I ended up a single mom, so I can totally relate to your story and like that motivation behind, like, you know, how do I want them to see me and how do I want them to grow up and what are the tools I didn't have as a kid that I want to provide to them, you know, and that always begins within us and making that change within ourselves and our mindset. So that's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I struggled for about 5 years to have my son. And so when I finally had him, I wanted to assess, how did I want him to see me? How did I want to show up in the world? Not how had I been showing up in the world or how I could continue down that path, but I truly believe that he saved me because of my push to have a child and my desire to find out why I was having fertility struggles. That's how they came across my cancer diagnosis. So had I not been in this push to have him, it could have been years before they found that cancer, and it could have escalated to a much worse outcome. Mm-hmm. So he saved me in my mind, and so I owe it to him to show up as best I can for him. And some days that's bike rides in the park. And when he was little, it was running around on the playground with him, getting dirty, and being that mom that had no problem getting dirty, crawling around the playground and being goofy and silly. And because of that, I have just this great bond with him that he knows, you know, mom is always there. There's no question of we can talk about anything. I'm sure as he becomes a teenager, that might change a little bit, but we just have this closeness that, you know, we can laugh and joke and, you know, he's fine just going on a bike ride with mom. He wants to do things like that. So to me, that's worth all of it.
Yes. I agree completely. That's an amazing, amazing story. Well, why don't we, like you had mentioned boundaries in your story and how you started building that in your life and what those are. So why don't we talk about like what healthy boundaries are and how you view that? I think that's a really important topic.
Yeah, so I used to be the woman who wanted to say yes to everything and do every event and go everywhere and have this schedule where I was running around hectically stressed out, like a crazy person. And then I realized that some of these things that I was rushing or stressing out to get to were not things that gave me energy. They were not things that I could see how they fit into my path or my vision for my goals. Mm-hmm. And so then I had to step back and say, well, then why am I doing them? Mm-hmm. If it doesn't give me energy, if it doesn't fit in as a puzzle piece into my goals, why? Why am I taking my energy reserve? Because as parents, as working parents, we know there's only so much energy to go around. Yeah. Why am I spending this reserve on something that doesn't fuel me? Mm-hmm. And so it's obviously still a practice because we're never perfect at boundaries, right? But really creating them and understanding what is your yes and no's and honoring them, mm-hmm. honoring those things that give you energy, mm-hmm. that light you up, that fit with your path, and then really holding still on those no's that are just energy drains, mm-hmm. that are detouring you from, your end goal. And, right. Showing that, demonstrating that to your kids is key as well, right? That we don't have to say yes to everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. And I think too, like it comes down to really like you said, like asking that question, like why, like creating awareness around it. Like, what is the purpose mm-hmm. of this? Like, what am I getting out of this? Like, why am I really doing this? Because sometimes I think we can get so caught up in like our ego mind that tells us that we need to do something like to fit in or to please another person. And that's especially true for us as women because we're sort of bred to be like people pleasers in that way. And we don't even really question it. It's just sort of automatic. And we're just saying yes to these things that are really draining us, that we really don't want to do, that don't fit in with our values and don't fit in with the ultimate fulfillment that we're looking for, that our soul is looking for. We're just doing it out of, like whatever automatic subconscious belief that we have going on that we're not aware of. So asking that question, like you said, like, why am I doing this is like, I think vitally important when we're looking at what we're going to do. Yeah. That's huge.
Yeah. For a lot of people, it's a robotic motion of just saying yes to every invitation that comes across their email, text, or whatever it might be. And really a habit that I've gotten into now, that took a while to get used to. I mean, habits take time to get used to, but every week on my Sunday night, I take a look at my calendar for the upcoming week and really assess everything that's on my calendar. Mm-hmm. Maybe I said yes to something a month ago, and now I'm like, you know what, that doesn't fit. It doesn't work. Or, you know what, this is a negotiable item and it really drains my energy. And you know what, this is not the week for an energy drain. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to move that or just cancel it. Mm-hmm. And I think having that weekly check-in to make sure that you are, your week is moving with intention. The things on your calendar are intentional and how you spend your time and your energy. Of course, there are things on our calendar that I'm sure we would like to move, but we can't. You know what? Yeah. The laundry and dishes, those are kind of non-negotiable. Eventually, they're going to have to be done. Yeah. I wish some days we could take those things off, but there are things that are negotiable. Why are they on our calendar? And you know what? Some weeks it might be okay to let those things slide. And other weeks, if you're already drained or you're feeling sluggish, that is not the time to spend your energy reserve going after those things.
Right. Yes. I love that. I think, and like how you said, like looking at your week with intention, like that's amazing. I can really learn from that. I need to invest more into that. Because I think sometimes like you gave the example of like signing up for something, say it's like a couple months in advance. And at the time you really wanted to do it. And then like it gets close to the time and your week is like way off and you don't want to do it. Like I have such a hard time. I've encountered that so many times, and now I'm pretty good about being like, okay, I can't do this. I have to reschedule it, but it's hard for me. Like I still have that initial feeling of like, what are they going to think of me? Are they going to be disappointed? Am I letting them down? You know what I mean? And it's usually something simple where it ends up always working out and it doesn't affect the person like I initially think that it's going to, but there's that immediate response within me. And it's hard for me to just be like, no, I can't do this. I'm going to honor that. And it always ends up working out. But again, that initial response happens.
Yeah, and you said it exactly right. You think they're going to react in a certain way, or you perceive their reaction is going to be a certain way. And in reality, they may not react that way at all. Mm-hmm. And so that's a bit of our comparison, right? Or our perception of how we'll be perceived by other people if we cancel, right? Especially maybe it's a last minute cancel. Right. And so we don't want that perception to be portrayed onto other people. But I really think when you're confident in your intention of your time and your energy, people will respect that. When you say, you know what, I'm sorry, I had initially RSVP'd, but you know what, this week we have other things going on and these things are top priority towards our goals and our energy this week. And I really think that they begin to respect that.
Yeah, that's what I found. I think like when I was younger and I didn't have that self-honesty, and when I would cancel things, like, you know, I always felt like judged for it. I always felt like, you know, like people looked at me like I was flighty or unreliable or that sort of stuff, because that's kind of how I was looking at myself. And that's kind of the intentional place that I was coming from. And I think that now that I've changed that around and I look at it as more of like being honest with myself and then honoring where I'm at, I always end up, like I even had to do that. I think it was last month at the beginning of March, I had a podcast thing scheduled, or at the middle of March, and or a Facebook Live, that's what it was, with another person. And I was feeling sick, like not feeling good. And I was just like, you know, I can't do this. So I texted her and I was like, I know that we have it coming up, but I can't do it. And it was pretty short notice. I think it was like about 24-hour, maybe 48-hour notice that I gave her. And she was like, oh no, that's totally fine. She was like, I'm actually thinking about going in a different direction with this anyways. And it just like totally worked out. And I noticed that like more and more and more when I'm honoring myself and where I'm at, the response is always received well. And that's because it's coming from a different place. It's not coming from a place of, even though I might still initially feel that guilt, or I might still initially feel like that self-judgment, because I'm really coming from a place of honoring myself and my boundaries, it's always received well by the other person. It's like a different energy.
Yeah, so much of that is the energy that you're giving off when you respond, right? You're not giving off kind of this unconfident, wavering, I'm sorry, I have to cancel, this hesitation. You're saying very confidently, I need to stand in my energy this week. I need to stand with my intention, and I'm sorry, this just no longer fits. And many times people can read that and they're like, you know what? That is the best for both worlds, that the energy isn't jiving this week, the intention isn't jiving this week, and you know what? We're going to reschedule or cancel or whatever it might be.
Yeah, exactly. Beautiful. All right, and then let's talk about self-care and like how that plays into like your story and your experience with that. I would love to know.
So before all this transformation, I call it forced transformation, because I don't know if I would have gone through this transformation as quickly or as early as I would have if it wasn't for the cancer diagnosis. But it all put me in a good place, so that at the end of the day, it all worked out. Before all that, I didn't really invest in myself. I graduated college and I dove headfirst into corporate America and worked obscure hours. And I just thought, this is what you do. You become this workaholic in corporate America. And, you know, I was brought up to be successful, you have to work hard. And so I dove headfirst. I worked hard. I worked 6 days a week. I traveled all over. That was my world. And after I had my son, I could not keep up, of course, with the corporate America and taking care of baby and all this. And I was feeling completely disjointed, not really understanding who I was anymore or who this person was before all this happened. And so I've begun to just block time on my calendar. And it's so good for the soul. It's so refreshing that, you know what, some days I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm just going to sit down and read my book. And that's okay. Mm-hmm. Or some days, you know what, I'm going to just have a Netflix night, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. And honoring myself and understanding that I need to have time to recharge and reboot, and whether that's reading, journaling, meditation, or, you know what, having some mom time and going to the spa, whatever that means, taking that time and not feeling guilty about it.
Right, right.
And really in the last 2 years, like, I spent time investing in a coach for myself, which I had never done before. I was like, well, why do people need, sure, athletes need coaches, but why would I need a coach? Mm-hmm. And I even questioned it at first. Okay, there's this investment, there's this time, I'm already so busy. And I was like, no, you know what? We're going to do this. And honestly, it was the best thing for me.
Yeah.
Yes, there was an investment of time and money, but I learned so much about myself in the process that after X number of years, we won't divulge my age, I had never figured out myself. And I was like, how did these people get to this place so quickly? Mm-hmm. And oh my gosh, why didn't I know this so many years ago? It could have changed so much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think investing in a coach is huge. Like, it has that ability to just really have someone look at you who can just really reflect you in a kind and safe environment. And then you're able to see things so much faster that, like, it would have taken you years otherwise to get to those things. You know what I mean? But this person can guide you and can just reflect you. I mean, that's really what it is. It's just this beautiful, like, friendship where this person reflects what's going on within yourself. And, a lot of times, like, when I work with a coach or working with clients, it's not like they're telling you what's going on with you. They're simply holding space, and then you're realizing it as you're talking to them. I've had so many ahas just talking to my coach, and then I'm like, oh, wait, that just came out of nowhere. I just realized something. And it was just me, like, talking to her asking me questions, or, whatever the case is. So it's just this beautiful way of holding space for another person, and we learn so much having that. I mean, it's a wonderful thing. It's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. In the 90 days I had my coach, she was able to identify some limiting beliefs that I've been holding on to since I was a teenager. Mm-hmm. But I was like, no, I don't have any limiting beliefs. What are you talking about? Yeah. And then we were talking through something, and she goes, oh my goodness, that's why you're hanging on to this thing, is you have this belief that you need to prove them wrong. And I was like, oh man, I remember that family member saying that to me exactly. And I'm like, holy cow, that's been sitting there for all these years. And that's why I had this mindset of this is what I had to do with my career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's wonderful. And I wanted to touch really quick on, because you're a mom, and I know how this is. So how do we deal with the guilt that does come around self-care? Like, how do you deal with that? Because I know that, like, for me, initially, like, going into my healing journey, there was this sense of guilt of, like, taking care of myself or spending time on myself, and somehow that taking away from my relationship with my child. And I really had to get in the mindset of, this is not only just for me, but it's for them, for my baby, because if I'm in a good place, I can parent her in a good place. But I always like to know, like, what other people's perspectives are, especially with the mom guilt thing, because it's so huge, it's so prevalent, and we feel it so deeply.
Yeah, it is hard, and I would say in the beginning, when my son was younger, it was much harder. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if we've set a routine now, or if he's older that it's gotten easier. But you should not feel guilt about it, because if you are not the best person you can be, if you're not showing up the best that you can, that is going to impact them. Mm-hmm. If you are not taking time for proper rest, then you're showing up sluggish and tired to them. If you're sluggish and tired, you're not the mom running around the playground with them.
Right.
And then how do they see that? They see that as, my mom's the one always sitting on the bench, not running around with me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you can either have the guilt, or you can have the children having the perception that they receive from your energy.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And to me, it was, I don't want my son to have this perception
Mm-hmm.
that I'm, the sluggish, tired mom, or I don't have time, or whatever it might be, because they're going to have their perceptions no matter what you tell them.
Right.
The actions are greater than the words, especially
Right.
to a child. So, and they don't understand busy schedules, right? That's an adult thing to deal with, right? So I gave up on feeling the guilt of self-care, because I knew that taking care of myself, whether it was sleep or taking that 1 hour to go to yoga class, translated to me showing up with more energy, more joy, being more aware of what was going on for him.
Yeah.
If I'm tired and exhausted, I am not picking up on the things that are going on for him or what's important to him at that time, which sometimes, as adults, we're like, is this sandcastle really that important? But it is to them.
Yeah.
And they want to know that you see it's important.
Right.
And so being able to give him that time and energy and space translates a million times over.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, getting that energy and time to give him that, there's no guilt.
Yes. Yes. I love that. I love that perspective. And that's really the place that I had to come to too. Like I definitely, it took me a while to get there. I don't think that I got there until my daughter was older, and I had ended up with Graves' disease. I think I got it when she was, I don't know, 3 or 4. And then, I was just tired all the time and all this stuff. And then, that was my motivation when I got Graves' disease, was like, okay, I have to heal this. I have to figure out how to heal this. And I have to understand what's the energy behind this that created this disease in me, because otherwise I'm not going to be able to show up for my daughter. Like this isn't going to work. And so that's what I did. And it made a huge difference. And I just kept reminding myself the whole time that I'm working on myself and I'm healing myself so that I can show up for her, and so that I can give her the tools she needs to deal with her emotions and to understand herself better. And everything that I'm doing, I'm also doing for her. What I do for myself, I do for her. And that's for anybody. That's even in our partnerships or whatever it is. What we do for ourselves, we do for other people. And that's really like the bottom line, I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And I think as moms, sometimes we put our own health on the back burner, because, we're busy with everything else. But case in point, you have to take that time to ensure that you are healthy, and healthy being mind, body, and energy, not just the food you eat, or not just going to the gym every once in a while, the whole kit and caboodle, right? And so are you being mindful? Are you eating well? Are you eating the foods that give you energy? Are you taking the time to get physical fitness in, whether it's with the kids or without the kids? Because if you're not this healthy example for them, again, they're watching all the time, right? And your health is so important that putting off that doctor appointment or that checkup is not worth getting potentially bad news down the road because you didn't address something right away.
Right, exactly. I love that. Okay, and that will lead us into investing in yourself. So why don't you just take that over and tell us like how you invested in yourself and what that really means to you.
So I, again, recently I invested in my own coach, my personal coach. And I took that. I went and spent a weekend at a women's retreat, taking some downtime just for me with a tribe of incredible women. And there are many times that maybe a few years ago, I would have been like, oh no, I can't spend that money. Oh no, I can't take that a weekend for me, just for myself. Like, no. And now I've come to see that this time, whether it's a coach, whether it's a weekend away, whether it's, hanging out with your tribe, is so necessary for your growth. Mm-hmm. Because we're continuously growing, and every day we have this opportunity to reassess how we're showing up.
Yeah.
And sometimes we have to step back and step out of our current state, or our current routine, or our current schedule to actually even understand how we're showing up. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we're just going through the motions of the routine because we're so hectic, busy, that we need to step back and reflect on, are we showing up the best we want to? Mm-hmm. And how does that fit with our goals? Mm-hmm. And so I've probably spent more investing in myself in the last 2 years than I have probably in the last 10 years. But my life is so much more joyful and so much more full of laughter. And I've got a great group of tribe friends that we go to yoga together. We bounce ideas off each other. We collaborate on business initiatives. And that sort of energy and passion I did not have before.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's the same for me. Like in the last 2 years, I've invested more time, energy, and money into myself, because I think that it's not just about the money. Like, you have to be willing to invest in yourself on all levels. You know what I mean? You've got to give yourself time and space, and you've got to invest in your own energy and your own, like keeping that energy and building that energy. You've got to invest on all 3 levels. And I've definitely done that like more in the last 2 or 3 years than I ever probably did in my entire life. And it vastly has changed things for me. I've awakened more. I have an incredible relationship with my daughter. I manifested my soulmate. Like, all of these things have happened because of, and I truly believe that it's huge because I decided to invest in myself. Because I think when you invest in yourself, you're sending yourself the message of, I am worthy of more, and I see that I'm deserving of love. And when we can commit to that and commit to, giving ourselves that message on a daily basis, we open our capacity to receive more in life, and especially joy, like you mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it goes to this whole thing of, you have to do the work yourself before you can share that with others, right? So if you want to, whether it's manifesting a soulmate, manifesting whatever it might be, you have to do the work on yourself before you can put that energy out into the world.
Yes.
And sometimes that's so hard because we don't want to do the work ourselves, because it is hard work. Digging back into those limiting beliefs, or digging back into what's holding us back, it's not easy, especially admitting and addressing those roadblocks. And so when you do that hard work, then you open up to the universe, right? This energy gets shown to the world that you're showing up completely differently because you did that hard work.
Yes, exactly. And it pays off. Like, let me tell you, maybe it feels hard in the beginning or whatever the case is, but it is 100% worth it. And what you receive for making that commitment and for doing the work is like far surpasses whatever hard work that you did. It suddenly doesn't even seem like it was as hard as you initially thought that it was going to be. Yeah.
During the process, you will feel pushed and you will feel challenged.
Yeah.
But once you get through the process, it's like a weight has been lifted off your shoulders.
Hugely. And it just gets easier. Like, and I know, like, in the beginning of like my healing journey, there were so many times where I just wanted to quit. I was like, this is too hard. I'm not seeing the results. Like, I'm going to quit. But I always tell people that once you've decided, like, that's it. Once you've started doing work on your mindset and you started seeing your limiting beliefs and stuff, that you can't go back from that. You can want to. You can have your breakdowns and you can be like, this is too hard. I don't want to do it. I'm not seeing the results. But you will just keep going because you've already started the process. And then it keeps getting easier and easier. And then you start seeing the results and you're like, oh, why did I ever want to quit this? Because it's a journey. It's going.
I mean, I think that's a valid point too. There will be breakdowns, there will be crying, there will be hugs, there will be whatever it might be, and those things are okay.
Yeah.
Somebody had once asked me, how did I get through my fertility struggles? And the first answer that came to my mind was a lot of crying. A lot of crying. And that's just being honest, and that's just how I got through it. It was a lot of tears. It was a lot of emotions. But you know what? those needed to be released because bottling that up would not have done me any good.
No, it wouldn't have. And it's so important to release our emotions and to honor them and let them move through us, because that honestly is it's just part of life. And I think so often we get caught up in like this belief that emotions are bad, or especially like negative emotions, and that, you know, we shouldn't feel that way, or, you know, whatever. And that's just not true. Like, all those things are here to teach us. All of those things are here to help us grow and expand. And by feeling them and honoring them, you know, we are able to move into a whole new phase and expansion of our souls and our expression here on earth. And it's like a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Well, and I think there's some people maybe feel there's negativity or stigma around being vulnerable, but honestly, it's the bravest thing you could do.
Right.
Putting that out there, takes so much courage and bravery.
It does.
But then again, you feel light years have gone past, and you feel like a different person on the outside of it.
Yeah, exactly. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Cathy. Is there anything else that you want to add around that, or anything that comes to mind?
You know, I think it is just, for those listening, don't be afraid to invest in yourself. Don't be afraid to take that time for yourself and do what fits your vision or your path for your life, because at the end of the day, it will pay off.
Yes, I love that. And on that note, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you, your website, your social media, whatever you want to share?
Sure. So I am on both Facebook and Instagram as Wellness Warrior Coaching. And so tune in for daily inspiration. We've got some quotes out there, and we like to engage with the community and see what's going on. And if you are in the Chicagoland area, we have some events coming up in person, as well as I'm co-authoring a few books coming out later this year. So stay tuned. Lots going on.
Yeah, looking forward to that. Well, I'm so glad that you came on. I loved it so much. Thank you so much, Cathy. I really appreciate you.
Thank you, Katie.
For free resources, ebooks, and other super awesome tools, go to my website, sacredspacewithkatie.com. I also want to remind you to subscribe so you always get the latest episode, and to leave a review so other people can find this podcast too. I super appreciate you tuning in today, and I will catch you in the next episode. Have a beautiful day.